beginning now to do? Is it in your plans to facilitate investors? And are you going to take the word facilitating as the same as promoting? Right? Something for you to think about, because they are not the same thing. They have overlaps, but they are not the same thing. Okay? So I would be going into Russia, but I will leave, since most of the public is Russian, for the last one. Okay, so Mr. Alexander Pirozhenko, I will now, in terms of, as I just spoke about facilitating investments, and I was talking about promotion itself, per se, I would like to ask our representative from MEDA to talk to us a little bit about how is it that they go about promoting. And my understanding, and I was just at a meeting of the OIC countries in Ankara for the past 2 days before coming here, Monday and Tuesday, and I heard a very good presentation from Turkey. I heard a presentation from MEDA that actually, if you could, with all due respect, focus to us a little bit more on all those proactive stances that you do in terms of your strategy, how it is conciliated with how it is well linked to the national strategy for the development of the country, for pushing the country up into an aggregate and into a more high value added type of productions. That would be very, very much appreciated because it draws my point. I think your agency, and I'm sorry to be speaking so much, but I see that your agency has really, we have a lot to learn from you from the standpoint of proactiveness.
Thank you, Carlos. I think the best way to answer your question is by sharing with you the slides I have. Of course, some of these slides we have shared with our potential investors and in our presentation. But the facilitation and the proactiveness are inbuilt inside the slides that I want to share. So maybe I will start very quickly just to give you an overview and an idea what kind of messages that we share or we convey to the potential investors, and then what sort of program and policies, and how are we perhaps working with the regional development agencies, which are all aligned to the national agenda. And at the end of the day, at the end of the slides, you will see the feedback of our investors, what they want to see in the country. Some of the feedbacks. So a bit of advertisement. Malaysia's visibility. We are a multiracial country, multi-religion. Of course, Muslim is the majority in the country. Multilingual, multicultural. That is an advantage to us. We can deal with the Chinese, we can deal with the Indian, we can deal with the Indonesian, and English is widely spoken. So education is very important, and we teach our people English from primary school. So for any international businessman who wants to do business in Malaysia, you are not going to, the entry level is not at the very basic, but it's a very advanced stage of development. Of course, we have other, what Malaysia is known for: Petronas, our national oil company. Palm oil is a big industry in Malaysia, resource base, the gloves, rubber gloves. We used to be a commodity-based country, but we have transformed from commodity to value-added in manufacturing industry. We are also known one of the Silicon Valley in Southeast Asia, where Datuk Reza come from, and Islamic banking, which we have developed over the years, and as well as the latest of innovation of Malaysia, Asia, which you can fly, everybody can fly. So if you want to look at MIDA alone, MIDA is by statute, is the principal government agency in terms of promotion and coordination of industrial development in the country. So we started in 1967, and we have actually transformed ourselves from just calling ourselves industrial promotion. Now we call ourselves Malaysia Investment and Development Authority. So to give the perspective of we are covering not only manufacturing but also the services sector. So we position ourselves as the first point of contact for business to do business in Malaysia. So I always share this with many in many forums. Rule number 1, MIDA is first point of contact. Rule number 2, you are free to meet with any of the regional corridors and regional agencies and some specific investment promotion agencies in biotechnology or ICT. But if you get confused along the way, refer back to rule number 1. Go to MIDA. Then we will guide the investors because our country is we have 14 states, and each state is ruled by each state government. We have the federal government, we have the state government, and we have the local authority. So the system is a British system. So that is why we have to position ourselves where MIDA is the first point of contact, and the information of investment in all the states and in all regional corridors are available in MIDA and with all of our officers. So our role is promotion. Of course, we go all over the place around the world. We have 26 overseas centers around the world in major capital exporting countries. We also do planning and policy advocacy. So as you know, because it's related to the one in red box there, evaluation, we are meeting the investors on a daily basis, discussing projects. So we will get feedbacks, inputs, which we use it to advise the government on what is the direction and improvement of policies that the government need to do. So we are what you call an agent between the government and the industries. On the evaluation, the approvals are done in MIDA. Most of the federal approvals, license, incentive, expatriate position, even regional headquarters are done in MIDA. The National Committee on Investment, or we call it NCI, is empowered by the Prime Minister to approve projects, and it is chaired by MIDA. So approval is conveyed by MIDA. So you even though the projects are located in other regional corridors. Of course, the next box is the follow-up and monitoring. We do, in simple terms, I call it after-sales service. When you are in Malaysia, we will make sure that your projects are implemented. And we try to address, of course, the operational issues, construction delays, and all that. So we are positioned throughout the country, and we work very closely with the state governments and the regional corridors. So at the federal level, we are the one-stop center where all the agencies relevant to MIDA, the important ones, are located in MIDA. And of course, we have representatives based outside MIDA where they attend meetings on a weekly basis at the National Committee on Investment. So I think I mentioned all this. So in one slide, this is the summary that what we do in MIDA. Worldwide network throughout Malaysia, in every state, and this is the corridors. We have 5 corridors in Malaysia. So it was developed to achieve the economic agenda, to spread the development throughout the country, and it is based on the strength of the local regions in the regions. So I think I will not touch on that. I think you will get an idea how they are being implemented. And all these are in consultation with MIDA as the federal agency in terms of what type of projects, what type of investment that should go into that region. And Vision 2020 government has laid down a major policy statement and policy documents, including the 10th Malaysia Plan. So under the 10th Malaysia Plan, we are supposed to bring in about 50 billion US dollars every year, and MIDA is is in the front line there to ensure that we will get 50 billion investment every year to achieve economic growth of about 6 to 7%, because Malaysia has a very ambitious plan to be a high income nation, to achieve the per capita income by $15,000. So we need to have about 50 billion US dollars a year, and it has been given as our KPI. So we have to excite all the regional corridors together with us and the other development agencies to achieve this national target and national agenda. And to do that, we have together with many agencies, the government has identified the key economic areas in various subsectors, from tourism, oil and gas, energy, renewable energy, biotechnology, including agriculture, and positioning Kuala Lumpur as the hub for regional headquarters for international companies. So these are the policies, additional policies, where it is managed by MIDA, the Industrial Coordination Act for manufacturing, and policy of ownership and freedom of capital, and also the expected post, all are managed by MIDA, and the incentive managed at MIDA, and even the activities as a country. These are the snapshots of some of the promoted, what we call it, activities as a policy. So all the corridors must adhere or align their what we call regional agenda based on this activity, which is moving towards a high value-added, technology-oriented and knowledge-based in various subsectors. Even in the services sector, we have identified from regional operation to logistics, ICT services, healthcare, education and tourism. On top of that, when we meet investors, we position Malaysia as the strategic gateway for regional markets. But not only that, it is supported by the framework agreements, free trade agreement. The first one is ASEAN, where we have 600 million people, a population, and also FTA framework with many other countries around the world, which will give advantage, on market access if you invest in Malaysia. So those are the, what Malaysia is doing. So at the end of the day, these are what they tell us, why they like Malaysia: political stability, business-friendly government, liberal policies, well-developed infrastructure, trainable and educated workforce, high-quality workforce, the banking system, are sound, the quality of life is there, and of course you need a consistency in terms of government policies, the track record. So no flip-flop. That will, I remember you mentioned Turkey just now is investing in the future of the country. So you need to have a track record. You must maintain that Malaysia will not do anything to pose any risk to potential investors or even existing investors. So that is in a nutshell. I'd like to talk about a little bit more about when you talk about the proactiveness. When I mentioned now each of these centers, they are supposed to report on a monthly basis on the prospects and at what stage, what level of interest on a monthly basis. So we monitor all of them. They are linked to the 50 billion US dollars. Each of them every year will be assigned how much you are supposed to bring into the country. So at the headquarters level, all our divisions are also assigned numbers. These are the numbers you must bring in. So the proactiveness begins there. Once you are given a target, then you have to go and look for potential investors with the tools that I mentioned: the policies, the areas, the industries, the incentive, the infrastructure, the vibrancy of the country for international business to flourish. So I think I want to stop there to have more discussion.
I would, if the audience allows me, I have some quick questions. Now, this under proactiveness, this 26 centers abroad, are they? I have my own views of whether they are or not, but I want to hear from you. Are they MIDA's own centers, or are they done through the diplomatic corps?
They are on their own. We have our own physical office. We are not in the embassy per se. Although some of our center we call it as a consulate office or for investment, but the people are from MIDA. They report direct to us.
And for Turkey as well, your offices, are they linked to diplomatic corps, or are they ISPAT's own offices?
Two offices in Ankara and in Istanbul. Plus, we work closely with commercial attaches, which report to Ministry of Economy and embassies.
Your international offices?
The international offices, they directly report to us.
They directly report to you. Okay. So,
on the proactiveness, on a monthly basis, we report to the cabinet how much we approve and how much is in the pipeline. So it's a complete loop, it goes to the cabinet, meaning the Prime Minister is being updated on a monthly basis on the progress of the target for the year. So it's quite robust for us. Of course, there are areas of improvement that we are working on, but that has been going on. What we do in Malaysia.
I have another question too in this regard, and it does relate to the history, so to speak, of MIDA itself, and the history, so to speak, of Malaysia as a country, as a whole. For instance, you are trying to bring the country into into a more knowledge-based economy. You're focusing perhaps also on some key technological sectors, and also on certain types of services, right? But it was not always like that, I suppose, right? There was a moment where other factors were more important to you. Is job creation a major concern, or is the quality of the jobs that are created a concern for you?
Thank you for the question. Now we actually have moved over the last 40 years from labor-intensive to testing and assembly kind of operation to engineering and export-oriented. but we found that we cannot be at the same level. So now it is job creation is number one, but quality job creation, knowledge-based jobs. So our drive now is to attract quality investment. When you talk about quality investment, then the knowledge will come in, the design, the R&D, even on the manufacturing plus, you know, the smiley curve. We want to do all that from the left to the right. So that is the what we are doing now. So we are supposed to create more high value jobs in Malaysia. Back then, yes, I think in the 70s, more of job creation because unemployment was very high. So it was a different scenario. Now the scenario is different. We are trapped in what, according to the World Bank, in the middle income trap. When we are in that situation, to break that barrier, we have to move up the value chain, more spending, R&D, and with the base that we have developed, with the skill set that we have developed, we are encouraging the companies to go into that direction.
Again, I'm just going to hear a little bit more on perhaps the facilitation side, but on this proactive stance, for instance, it's not only that you pick the sectors, but I think that you go one step further too, and you do this matching to your national strategy, so to speak. Is that correct? A correct assumption to make? For instance, you want to understand the life cycle of a product, understand what industries is it that you are, and I'm sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth, but then correct me if I'm wrong. Because what I'm trying to show by proactiveness too is understanding what your country has to offer, what are the advantages that you have there, what are those advantages that may not be so evident, but you have an aspiration and you are willing to bet on that as well. And based on that, then you do your promoting. I don't see Mida as somebody who sits there and waits for the investors to come to you. This question is actually
yes. Actually, you know, I think you know better Maida or Malaysia better than me. See, when I say we are what they call the ears and eyes of the government. So our intelligence, market intelligence, direction of industries, with the companies and all that. It will be fed into us and to the government, and it become a national agenda. So in that sense, I would say yes, you are right. We don't open up the shop and wait for people to come, but you need to drive and pick the sectors that are advantageous and that where you want to be. Thank you.
I am so sorry, but since it's with the same country, Mr. Adu, but if you could just give a very, very brief view of the corridors with respect to Mida. I think that on a global perspective, we already heard a lot, but in terms of the cooperation with the regions, what is it that you can say? Perhaps that would be useful to the audience. I do recognize there is somebody back there that's been raising his hands, but what is it about?
Маленький вопрос. На этой карте нет Москвы или Казани, поэтому вопрос хотел уточнить. Moscow, Kazan in this map. What about Moscow, Kazan in this map?
They told me right before coming here that it's their next focus will be Kazan.
Kazan and Russia is our radar. We have Mr. Tajuddin, he is based in Munich. Although he's a bit far from here, but he's supposed to cover Russia. But don't worry, we have the embassy in Moscow. We have our trade office in Moscow, so they are representing us for the time being. But now I notice that Kazan is becoming a very important area, so you will see our faces a lot more often.
Okay, so I'll ask for the questions. I'll ask for the questions to hold just a little bit, so we know that there will be, more attention given to Kazan. Now, very quickly, because we are on the time and we already spent some time with.
Assalamualaikum and Dobry den. Minya Zorat Zarafik, Yais, Malaysia. Actually, the Malaysian government takes a regional approach to economic development. I'll just go through this particular, takes a regional approach to economic development. It is through the realization that each region is unique, each region has its own strengths, each region has its own unique value propositions, even unique idiosyncrasies, I suppose. Here, the primary intention of setting up these regions, there are 5 regional development authorities, so that means there are 5 of me running around in Malaysia, is to actually manage the dispersal of economic development initiatives throughout the country. And of course, it is chaired by we have a council that's chaired by the Prime Minister, where the heads of the 4 states in the north of Malaysia also are part of that council. And we have 4 key thrust areas of agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, and logistics. I just skip through this. This is how the activities are based. Okay, you look at it. The primary intention of having a regional development enabler or regional development authority is to ensure that the government's economic development initiatives are felt by the people of the region. This means that there will be proper follow-through. This means that there will be proper activities lined up from the very early stages of planning and structuring all the way down to execution. The regional development authorities are staffed by, look at the discussion in the previous session. Okay, this is something interesting. All the regional development authorities are mainly staffed by members, employees who were formerly from the private sector. It is because the drive by the Malaysian government over the 10th Malaysian Plan, which is from 2011 to 2015, is for the private sector to take the lead in economic development initiatives, with the government playing the role of enabler and facilitator. We work with MIDA to help bring in FDIs, foreign direct investments, and we structure the arrangements to ensure that we can carve out opportunities for not just in terms of job opportunities, but carve out opportunities for the local supply chains, carve out opportunities for local entrepreneurs based on the relevant areas of expertise as set up in the respective regions in Malaysia. In such engagements, the role of the regional enabler is to handhold the process from pre-investment, whereby we will follow MIDA, pre-investment, where we will work with MIDA, get MIDA's approval, to post-investment. This is where we manage the process throughout. And bear in mind, in the north of Malaysia, it is a brownfield area. It is not greenfield, it is not new, it is brownfield. So what we did was to leverage on the strength of the private sector. What we did was to leverage on the activity base that was already there, and the strength of the engineering skill sets that are already there over the last 40 years. As Dr. Azman mentioned earlier, that the north is actually the Silicon Valley of Malaysia. To this end, as a regional enabler, the regional development authorities actually adheres to this collaborative engagement charter, where they pursue something like a collective impact agenda. They're talking about working with the various local authorities, local agencies, local government bodies, non-governmental agencies to pursue a common agenda to ensure that there is seamless communication between these respective organizations to ensure that there are mutually reinforcing activities, and of course to work with the key backbone support organizations such as MIDA in this case. This collective impact is a synergistic effect that we have arising from a group of organizations that actually come from different fields of activities, come from different activity-based, different mandates, who have come together for a common agenda, common mandate, and they found that leveraging on their respective or collective strengths actually have been able to harness greater impact of private sector participation in the region. And how we engage to ensure that there are real impact on the ground with the local communities of the region is we pursue ideas such as a shared value concept, where I think for investment promotion agencies, it's usually the thinking of what's good for the company is usually good for the community, because when the company goes into a particular location, what happens is jobs are created, business opportunities are created. But in the shared value concept, what we do is we look at the approach of what is good for the community can also be good for the company. Yeah? These are simple things like this goes beyond CSR, because corporate social responsibility implies that it is the company giving something away to the community. This is not the case. This is the case where, for example, in this island called Langkawi, we have a hotel investor that comes in, big hotel, and they use the local fisherman community to actually take their guests out to experience the local activities. So these are the new approaches that we do to ensure that there is added income arising from the spillovers and new areas, new dimensions of spillovers, which are carved out by engaging with the regional development authorities. So I hope that was concise enough.
Thank you, Mr. Dato, as well. And now I'm going to pick up on something said earlier by Dubai FDI, when he mentioned that there is this perception perhaps that Dubai is linked to oil, and in reality Dubai's GDP has no more than 3% of oil as a contribution to it. Now, I do remember one, and this is a very interesting thing. I do remember one data with respect to Russia that came up about 2 years ago, that 41% of its FDI was actually in the oil and gas sector. And I've just been to visiting a country, Azerbaijan, where it's even more. Okay, and the challenge of Gazprom in Azerbaijan is how do we diversify, right? So in any event, that's probably one challenge as well that you are having in Russia. But I would like to hear now about what's being done, and I would actually like to see what your views are in terms of if you are thinking about this reactive, proactive stance as you are thinking of the framework of a national agency, and also from the standpoint of the regional agencies too, you know, how proactive are they being? And one thing, I shouldn't be talking so much, but there is one thing. I see sometimes an incredible effort in policy. I mentioned the word first, facilitation. Well, facilitation is important to react well, as I said, but it is a response that we must be ready to give, right? Policy is extremely important, but we cannot forget the policy is certainly improving the investment climate, but for a country, and I am going into it, but for a country like Russia with an incredible industrial past, if you focus on business environment improvement only, you are, in my view, and I can't help by saying, you are risking a lot. Okay, so let me know your thoughts. Let us all know your thoughts.
Ну, здесь, конечно, можно достаточно развернуто и долго отвечать. Я скажу лишь, что у нас действительно неплохие показатели по прямым иностранным инвестициям. Последние данные у нас 51 миллиард долларов прямых иностранных инвестиций в российскую экономику было привлечено за последний год. И если мы посмотрим структуру региональную этих инвестиций, то увидим, что достаточно высокая концентрация этих инвестиций в нескольких регионах. И прежде всего в Москве, в Ленинградской области, в Санкт-Петербурге и областях вокруг них. Есть такие проекты большие, как на Сахалине, где действительно тоже достаточно большая доля инвестиций сейчас иностранных приходит. Но сейчас на второй план входит вопрос проблемы инвестиций именно в нефтегазовый сектор, который раньше доминировал. Сейчас важно диверсифицировать не только инвестиции в части секторов экономики и привлекать инвесторов именно в промышленные сектора, которые могут быть связаны с нефтегазовым сектором. Там есть достаточно инновационные сферы, которые могут быть востребованы не только в России. Но мы, конечно же, ставим задачу по диверсификации, но еще и не только в отраслях, но и в регионах. Собственно, о чем говорят коллеги из Малайзии. Что нужно диверсифицировать и развивать те точки, которые могут развиваться в России, и не находятся в столице или рядом с столицей. А вот у нас такой тренд пошел в начале разговора приводить данные по авиаперевозкам, авиакомпаниям. У нас достаточно много национальных авиаперевозчиков, не только Аэрофлот, который летает практически по всему миру. У нас достаточно хорошая корреляция между объемом инвестиций и пассажиропотоком. Они у нас сконцентрированы в Москве, в регионах Москвы. В частности, там же зарегистрированы крупнейшие компании, которые работают в России, поэтому счет идет инвестиции в Москву. И пассажиропоток у нас более 50 миллионов пассажиров, 64 миллиона пассажиров только через Московский факт. И сейчас мы видим в течение последних 5-6 лет достаточно бурное развитие в регионах, в том числе проектов, которые интересны для иностранных инвесторов. Это, пожалуйста, не случайно мы здесь собираемся в Казани уже второй раз, в Казани саммите, большой интерес со всего мира. И у нас проходят форумы промышленные в Екатеринбурге, в других городах, и за ними следуют инвестиции. И мы понимаем, что этот тренд, который сейчас набирает обороты, он нуждается в поддержке. И мы уже 2 года реализуем совместно с регионами, я в предыдущей сессии говорил, проект регионального инвестиционного стандарта. Мы обобщили опыт лучших регионов, тех, кто добился результатов с точки зрения привлечения зарубежных и российских инвестиций, и сделали 15 лучших практик того, как должна быть организована работа с инвесторами. Не только в части, собственно, агентств привлечения инвестиций, это один из блоков, но и в целом сервисы, которые оказываются органами власти, информация, как должна оказаться, каким образом должна общественность участвовать в принятии важнейших решений, как тарифные решения и так далее. То есть, в принципе, этот стандарт уже реализован в 11 регионах. Я хотел несколько слайдов показать, если можно, о том, каким образом этот проект сейчас реализуется, и дальше в заключение сказать, каким образом это связано с нашей работой по координации работы по привлечению инвестиций. 81 регион уже присоединились к внедрению этого стандарта инвестиционного. Всего 2 региона догоняющих, у нас их 83. Мы реализуем этот проект в партнерстве с ведущими деловыми ассоциациями, которые объединяют большую часть предпринимателей, как российских, так и зарубежных, действующих в Российской Федерации. Кстати говоря, мы во многом дизайн работы по региональной политике практике у нас есть еще национальный проект, национальная предпринимательская инициатива, который направлен на улучшение инвестиционного климата в целом в России, в отдельных сферах. Во многом использовали опыт, в том числе и Малайзии. И агентство прямым, с которым мы общались, и очень похожая работа по дорожным картам, по определенным сферам. Таможенное регулирование и барьеры в строительстве, это все касается федерального уровня и работы, которая организует агентство. Сейчас мы говорим про региональный уровень, и здесь в активную работу по изменениям делают не только администрация, не только власти региона, но и сами предприниматели, которые фактически принимают участие в этой работе, акцептуя действия администрации по улучшению инвестиционного климата и по созданию той самой инфраструктуры. Вот цифры людей, кто сейчас участвует в регионах. 59 групп предпринимателей в каждом регионе, которые, собственно, в взаимодействии, в диалоге с властью вырабатывают эффективные решения для создания структуры работы с инвесторами. Я не буду подробно останавливаться на этом проекте, скажу лишь, что результаты этой работы, они фиксированы в KPI, который установлен для региональных руководителей. То есть мы создаем такую систему, в которой заинтересованы как бизнес, так и, соответственно, региональное руководство для того, чтобы, опять же, создать необходимую инфраструктуру. И это уже сейчас оправдывает те ожидания, которые мы в этот проект закладываем, он уже, собственно, оправдывает наши ожидания. Вот в тех регионах, которые приступили к внедрению этого стандарта, увеличился приток иностранных проектов и российских проектов. В среднем это около 10-15%. И прирост инвестиций тоже заметен. И мы говорим о том, что одним из важнейших составляющих вот этой работы – это налаживание системы инвестиционного промоушена, о чем мы, собственно, говорим. То есть улучшать инвестиционный климат, но если о нем никто не будет знать, он даст меньший эффект, нежели если будет действительно изменена ситуация в конкретных регионах, в конкретных городах, и об этом будут информированы инвесторы, и с ним будут оказываться действительно эффективная профессиональная помощь и поддержка. Мы со своей стороны сейчас организовали так называемую школу стандарта, в рамках которой проходит обучение представителей региональных институтов развития, служащих государственных, которым мы даем вот эти передовые компетенции работы с инвесторами. Также положительным результатом стандарта, работы по стандарту, стало создание образования вот этих региональных инвестиционных агентств. Сейчас уже создано, здесь написано 55, 61 агентство в России, с разным уровнем компетенции, с разными полномочиями, но это очень серьезный шаг в создании действительно очень эффективной инфраструктуры региональной. Следующим шагом уже будет, собственно, координация всех этих институтов со стороны федерального центра, но там мы об этом говорили на предыдущей сессии. Что мы в ближайшее время будем делать в 2014 году? В этом году мы планируем запуск официального портала в сети интернет, где мы сможем рассказать на нескольких языках о тех возможностях, которые есть в российских регионах, и о той инфраструктуре, которая сейчас создана как инженерной для, собственно, размещения непосредственно производственных объектов, так и на инфраструктуре содействия привлечению инвестиций. И мы надеемся, что этот портал, мы будем активно его продвигать, он станет первым шагом к выстраиванию на федеральном уровне действительно эффективно работающей системы, в которую пойдут и министерство, и торговое представительство Российской Федерации, которые сейчас несколько десятков по всему миру работают. И сейчас идет реформа вот этих торговых представительств. Мы рассчитываем на то, что совместно мы сделаем такую систему, которая несет значимые, заметные результаты, опять же, с точки зрения привлечения инвестиций. Мы также будем продолжать работать с региональными агентствами и работать в части инвестиций, выходить на, собственно, на ту систему совместной координации работы по сопровождению инвесторов. И вот этот вот портал, он уже сейчас вызывает достаточно большое количество одобрения со стороны и интереса, потому что на сегодняшний день такой единой площадки, где зарубежный инвестор может ознакомиться с большим проблемом информации по всем 83 регионам. На сегодняшний день нет. Мы надеемся, что это станет хорошим подспорьем в сопровождении инвесторов.
Well, thank you. I would like then to open the floor perhaps to questions from the audience on what was exposed here or other curiosities you may have. The gentleman. Thank you.
Very much. Later, and I listened attentively. I am the ambassador of Sudan. I listened attentively to all this discussion all day. And I believe investment two facets which we discussed, whether it is by facilitation or promotion, would be done in isolation other than. And I would like to mention here particularly the political factor of investment. There is some adverse impact of political factors, and there are some good and positive impact of political factors in the bid for investment as whole. For example, talking about the positive factor, I would like to mention our experience in Sudan with Petronas company, where the political decision, not the economic decision, the political decision of the Prime Minister was the vehicle behind bringing Petronas to work in Sudan, which I think eventually achieved excellent results. Petronas now considers that investment in Sudan is one of its best investments overseas. So the political factor played positively in this story of success in one part of the world, which is Africa. Another example of the other side of the coin, which is the negative impact of politics, is the sanctions which are imposed in countries, which brings a tremendous hazard to the world of investment in its different aspects. So I would like to listen about, to hear something about the other ulterior considerations which interplay in the issue of investment as a
Shukran Saad Salir. Thank you for the question, Your Excellency. I think it's a the investment decision altogether, and investment as a complex decision that comes within different factors, and of course political will is part of it. But once the decision is taken to really facilitate or put an IPA, it goes to, that is yes political, but from an economical point of view, then it's where the the economic Ministry of Economy or Trade that will facilitate the possibility of starting such initiative. And then what comes after that is where IPAs would look to work with their own government to facilitate more investment coming to to that particular country or region, and at the same time advocate the government of needed measures and steps and policy changes that will allow this influx of investment coming in and continue to have a better result and returns in future. Usually IPAs are catalyst of, plays a good portion of what they do in their life cycle as catalyst of change. They are in direct relation with private investors and private sectors, and they advocate that to their own governments. And they say and tell what's needed to be done, and at the same time their eyes into other IPAs and other experiences like we do in WIPA. We see other experiences. We maybe take some of it, we modify some of it towards what we need, but at the same time we continue this path of developing a better environment for investment attraction altogether. It's a whole complex of things that really makes what IPAs who they are and what they need to be. Thank you.
Actually, there's this situation where political will sometimes determines the direction in which an IPA goes to. If you look at Malaysia, during the time of Dr. Mahathir, he promoted this thing called the multimedia super corridor, which I was part of. I was employee number 8. And that being said, Malaysia had, he used Malaysia's, the building blocks that were already in Malaysia to actually put Malaysia in the particular direction, and the private sector followed suit. This is the political, where the government works with the private sector in this sort of double helix approach, because one will provide the policy platforms, one will provide the policy directions, but at the end of the day, it would be the will of the private sector that would determine whether or not there would be follow through. This is even more important in this era. Talking about the knowledge economy, where the knowledge economy is characterized by technology push and economic liberalization. When people, in IPAs, it is very common to talk about investments coming in, but there's very few topics being covered about what happens from a social aspect, from an economic aspect, when an investment goes out. That also would be done through political will. When you move to address such matters from a country perspective, it would have to be through political will.
I must add to this because the two comments are very, very much on spot. Certain things will involve, in terms of facilitation, your government, especially certain types of projects in certain areas such as natural resources, for instance, right? And the IPA should work together with its government and should be empowered by its government to do this, which is a facilitation type of work, right? To react well on a government level, right? To improve, as you can, your business climate, and to take those decisions that are political in the end, period. Certainly then I period is. That's the reason why for certain things we need to have governmental missions, right? But not for everything. That I segue into what our colleague from Malaysia said, which is another aspect of politics, which is the political will. And it's related to that in the sense that the IPA should be empowered, but the political will to actually decide on a strategy that it is not just, as unfortunately I heard recently, we have, when I was at the OIC member, so we have a strategy. This strategy is this 5 sectors that we picked, and we improved our website with information about these 5 sectors. This is not a strategy. I'm sorry, this is not. You have to go further, right? And with that, you need the political will actually to know, to assess what impact is it going to have on your economy? Is it what your economy needs? Is it where your economy now is? And even if it is not yet where it is something that you want to achieve in a certain time. So the politics there is important, and coordination there between your higher political instances supporting the IPA and talking in this dialogue to actually create this policy that's a policy that is a strategic policy into upgrading your country and measuring to the social impacts of this investment that is coming in. That is key, and that is something that you've been doing a lot in Malaysia.
From my perspective, look at from a businessman standpoint. They invest their money, they want returns, they want to make money. So typically there are three things they look at in a location. Number one, the investment is looking for resource, natural resources and other type of resources. Number two, they are looking for probably the market. If you have a large population, that is your strength. Number three, efficiency, resource seeking, and market seeking. So these three factors. So surrounding that three factors, you have to find your strength. Probably if you have a lot of resources, but the big question mark of political stability is not there. That is where when you have to provide the comfort and the confidence and the political will to that particular investor that you will here, I will support you, but you must show fast results so that the people will believe this is good because it provides spillover employment and so on. So there are three things that you have to remember, and you have to build the rest along these three important things. Whether you want to have, like for Malaysia, we have industrial master plans, number 1, 2, and 3. We launch it to address different objectives at different level of development. So based on that plan, we attract investment in those areas that we have identified. So it is not what you call a rule of thumb, but depends on the situation. Like my colleague from Dubai mentioned, it's not straightforward.
If I may add, Your Excellency, yes, political stability is a key decision in so many things as security for companies. But it's also, we don't have to forget that sometimes it's also beyond that, where investment is a long-term commitment from the government. It's not like, I'm going to give you this facilitation and leave you there. I'm with you the whole cycle. Actually, the whole cycle starts when the investment starts. And the old practice is that once the investor is there and he established the company, that's it. It's okay, thank you, you're there to do that, you know everything now. Actually not. It's once he starts the investment, this is where the long-term relation is. There's a lot of, let's say, issues that he could come up or come across to. Is there a body that will he continue to depend on to really continue? If he's investing 10 million and he's encouraged to do that, to do the next 10 million or the 20, is that body next to him to really support him to take that decision? Because we might, and from our experience, we learned that there is a lot of strength into the current investors. That you could develop your a stronger relation. They will do two things. Number one, they will invest more once they have the successful, let's say, relation there and their income been met and their plans are there. Number two, they will be your ambassadors to market you globally because they find success there. And those people really speak to each other. The most important is the aftercare. aftercare within a full cycle, that there is a government commitment, not only a facilitation at the beginning, but a long time, a whole investment cycle standpoint, that there is a facilitation and a continuous one, and if there are hiccups, like the previous, we had in the previous session, there was an example of company or a company that wanted to exit out of Germany. I think was it Germany, and it was where the IPAs, the regional and the federal, have worked together to facilitate extras to really allow that company to continue. There are many demographics, but it's about the commitment of a life cycle of the investment. Thank you.
One quick note, Dubai is famous for their work after in keeping a relationship on with that established investor for a very long time. And this is kind of a rule of thumb, but that 1/3 of your investments sometimes are expansions of an already established investment. So the aftercare, as it says, or post-establishment facilitation is a very, very important thing. And another aspect related to your question of political stability, well, of course, it will depend on the level of political stability or instability, but I have heard from one hint and from another one very clearly, large corporate investor in pharmaceuticals, that sometimes the relationship that they build with government officials and the trust that they feel in these government officials is something that will make them stay and take a little bit more of risk and stay, even perhaps if there is some level of instability, because they know that they have that relationship there that will help them through some hiccups.
Can I just add on? I want to pick on the proactive. See, it is not only promotion. You have to talk about attracting investment in the context of ecosystem. When you talk about ecosystem, then investment needs people. People need to be trained. Education, infrastructure, connectivity, political stability, all those. What do you call? I call it the enabling environment. So government's role in that particular area is very, very big. It's not only going to seminars, meeting investors, but back home you need to have that in place, or at least you have a plan to achieve to a certain level of sophistication.
I must comment on this because this is important. We were establishing this thing, proactive and reactive, and again, I was saying that it's important to react when you receive an inquiry. React well, react in a professional manner, react, fast. But in this proactivity, the ecosystems approach, for example, one more time, this is related to policy, right? That is related to political will. That's related to strategic thinking of the country itself. And the IPA must be an active participant in this, and that's why I made a question earlier to Russia. As Russia is establishing it, are they thinking about this, or is their focus only on business climate improvement, or is their focus only, with all due respect, moving up on a ranking somehow, right, that most investors often don't even look at?
Конечно, мы не только занимаемся вопросами рейтингов или улучшения инвестиционного климата в широком формате, хотя в настоящее время это один из наших таких ключевых фокусов, потому что мы видим очевидные проблемы, которые можно достаточно в сжатые сроки решить, и они дадут максимальный эффект сейчас. При этом мы также, наше агентство занимается поддержкой различных проектов в сфере бизнеса, те проекты, которые имеют сложности в реализации стандартов, которые часто отстают от развития технологий. И помогаем в реализации этих проектов, снимая взаимодействие с правительством, снимая
На второй этаж поднимаешься, наискосок проходишь, там лестница на первый этаж.
И
Хорошо. У меня его так и не забрали.
Еще раз системные вещи, которые обязательно должны быть взаимосвязаны. Потому что образование не существует отдельно. И если мы говорим про образование, социальная сфера — это тот климат, на который тоже обращают инвесторы внимание. Да? Если в территории не будет, опять же, школы для иностранных специалистов, для их детей, то это будет одним из отрицательных факторов, которые могут повлиять на принятие решения об инвестировании. Поэтому здесь, конечно же, вопрос привлечения инвестиций, он шире, нежели просто работа с рейтингами, с конкретными проблемами, которые возникают у инвесторов в экономической и юридической сфере. Это еще и, собственно, окружение. Это социальные вопросы и система социального обслуживания там, на перспективу, как они будут решаться. Потому что мы говорим, например, смотрим на Калугу, которая очень резко выросла с точки зрения экономических показателей, где реализуют сейчас крупнейшие проекты в сфере автомобилестроения, фармацевтический кластер развивается, и там возникает нагрузка на социальную сферу. И потому что люди, которые получают достаточно достойную зарплату на этих предприятиях, они требуют уже от властей соответствующего сервиса в социальной сфере, в образовании и так далее, что повышает в свою очередь нагрузку на бюджет, который не всегда соответствует тем налоговым поступлениям, тем доходам бюджетов, которые получают от этих инвестиционных проектов. Это тоже вопрос, который, если уж мы говорим про будущее, нужно смотреть уже сейчас, занимаясь привлечением инвестиций, нужно смотреть в том числе на те вопросы, которые возникнут после того, как эти инвестиции придут. Да? Потому что иначе мы столкнемся с негативным отношением тех инвесторов, которые работают и видят нерешенные, непредусмотрительную политику власти по преодолению этих вопросов. Наше агентство системно увязывает в себе вот эти вот вещи. Что касается отраслевой специфики, то в настоящее время мы сейчас на этом не фокусируемся. Наши коллеги из правительства определяют те сферы, в которых государство оказывает поддержку в различных формах, будь то льготы, будь то специальные средства, которые выделяются на развитие инфраструктуры в соответствующих отраслях. Надеюсь, что мы тоже к этому вопросу будем подключены через год, через два в работе агентства. Сейчас мы сконцентрированы на тех трех вопросах, о которых я говорил: бизнес, социальная сфера, образование. И четвертый вопрос — это, конечно же, инвестиционный фонд.
Excuse me, you have to turn on the microphone.
There is an impression that due to great work on the ground, they have done
Я понял, вопрос заключается в том, что есть ощущение, что политика в России, нет внятной политики по привлечению инвестиций, и, если коротко, есть ли какие-то соображения по поводу того, каким образом эту политику проводить? Примерно, да? Ну, во-первых, я, конечно, хотел сказать, что не совсем верно высказывание о том, что Россия не занимается привлечением инвестиций. В России достаточно активно работают в зарубежных странах по привлечению инвестиций в таких сферах, как тоже автомобилестроение, нефтегазовый комплекс, и делается это через торгпредства, которые работают сейчас в достаточно большом количестве стран, и специальные мероприятия, которые проводятся нашими институтами развития, в том числе для зарубежных инвесторов, как в России, так и за рубежом. Другое дело, что действительно координации в этой работе, может быть, не хватает. И сейчас, собственно, о чем говорил Медведев в Сочи, о том, что необходимо координирующий центр, который будет помогать привлекать инвестиции в регионы. Проблема с крупными проектами, которые реализуются сейчас в России, с точки зрения сопровождения, так остро не стоит, потому что они координируются непосредственно правительством Российской Федерации, как правило, реализуются через крупнейшие инвестиционные банки. Консультанты активно работают над этими проектами, но мы точно не довыбираем те возможности, которые рынок мировой дает, инвестиционный рынок дает нашей стране в части среднего и малого бизнеса. Вот то, чего, может быть, глазу незаметно, у нас строятся большие заводы в потребительском секторе, в других секторах, но не хватает технологических компаний, небольших, которые дадут, если мы говорим про будущее, которые дадут действительно хорошие шансы на серьезные технологические прорывы в стране. И вот этим должно заниматься агентство, которое, возможно, будет создано в России по привлечению инвестиций за рубежа. Если я правильно услышал вопрос.
Спасибо. And maybe we have time for just one more question, and I'm thinking whether Yuri Wasowski would like to make a quick final comment or a contribution to this, or a quick final question, and then we'll have, unfortunately, to end our panel.
Thank you, Carlos. I don't have any specific question, and I think we're running out of time. But so I want to thank everyone for interesting discussion, and I think this discussion needs to continue, because indeed, as Alexander said, there's different models now being discussed within government. So this is a time when agency is being designed. So all I want to say is to urge participants of regional agencies in Russia, international agencies, to participate in this discussion to the extent possible, express their views. Your views are very important, and will be taken into consideration, because Russia is now at the design stage of this national agency. Thank you very much.
With this, I want to thank all the panelists present here today. It was very, very useful, and I think we can still talk outside with any of the panelists or myself on a one-on-one basis. Okay, thank you very much to all of you.